Suspects on the loose. 2 people run from the scene of a deadly crash. Now a manhunt is underway in South Bend.
Remembering a young life, hundreds gather at a visitation for Briana Roush. Now there's one more chance to say goodbye.
And no signs of budging. President Trump demanding money for a border wall, even if that means a government shutdown by the end of this week.
First, fast, accurate, live. This is WSBT 22 News on Fox.
And good morning at 7 o'clock. It is a nice start to the week. It's a nice, clear, quiet start to our morning. Absolutely nothing to track this morning.
Oh, that's right. Let's get to meteorologist Carrie Peugeot, because Carrie, if you parked outside this morning, you might have a little frost on the windshield.
Yeah, a little bit of a nuisance, but not a serious issue for our travel. This is a live look at some of the cars outside the hospital in Mishawaka. A lot of these are new cars, but if you look on top of some of them, you can see that white glare there. If your car's on the street or if it's in your driveway, a couple of extra minutes to scrape that off, and then you'll be in good shape. Otherwise, it's really quiet. We have 32 degrees, so we're down to the freezing point. Winds are light, but they're still registering out of the northwest, giving us those cool conditions. And again, we're not really tracking much of anything. We have no precipitation other than that little bit of that water that's freezing onto your car. I don't expect any other types of precipitation today. If I show you the satellite data, which shows the cloud cover, we have a few clouds to our west and a few to our east, but we're mostly looking at clear skies, and that is true for a good section here of the United States. If you look at the wide picture, there's just not a whole lot happening. There are some clouds in northern Michigan, there's some snow up in Maine, but outside of that, it is really quiet. Our forecast for much of this week includes just cool conditions and a lot of sunshine. Similar to yesterday, we're going to have a day where we warm up at least a little bit, not as warm as yesterday. We're starting out near the freezing point right now, but we are going to end up in the upper 30s, nearing 40 degrees, and that's in combination with some beautiful sunshine. We're going to do that a couple more days this week before we chime out some rain and some snow, and I'll show you both of those coming up in about 10 minutes.
All right, Carrie, thanks very much. Happening this morning, a manhunt is on for 2 people involved in a deadly hit-and-run crash.
South Bend police say 2 people are dead, several injured, including an infant, following this violent crash. It happened on the city's northwest side near North Bendix Drive in West Lathrop. Investigators have not released ages or conditions of the crash victims, but believe the 2 dead are mother and son. Police say the driver and passenger who caused the crash left the scene. Investigators say it's possible the 2 were picked up by another car. They say they will soon release pictures of the suspects.
This morning, the final funeral preparations are underway for a Mishawaka community saying goodbye to a local teenager. 17-year-old Briana Roush will be laid to rest today. At least 500 people attended a visitation for the high school student from Mishawaka High last night. Dozens of high schoolers from Mishawaka, including the cheer and softball teams, coming together to remember their friend. The visitation happened at the New Life Baptist Church in Osceola. Investigators say Roush was stabbed to death last weekend. She was 6 months pregnant. The 16-year-old boy accused of killing her faces murder and feticide charges. He is believed to be the unborn child's father. He will be in court again this week. Briana's funeral will be at the same church as last night's visitation. Mishawaka High School will be open today, but students will be allowed to attend this funeral.
After years of searching and unanswered questions, Venus Stewart has been laid to rest. Stewart's friends and family gathered at a cemetery in St. Joseph County, Michigan on Saturday for her burial. Stewart disappeared from her parents' home in 2010. It wasn't until October of this year that her estranged husband, Doug Stewart, admitted to killing her and revealed where her body was. Now Stewart rests next to her father, Larry McComb, who died earlier this year. He never learned what happened to his daughter.
A man is dead this morning after being critically injured over the summer at a Cass County Bible camp. Facilities manager Dave Stiles was working in a cabin at that camp back in July when a propane tank ignited. He suffered critical injuries in the explosion. A Facebook page devoted to providing updates on his condition posted that he passed away Saturday night. The camp posted online about it as well.
7:04 now, and another member of President Trump's team now stepping down. New this morning, the president says Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke will leave the administration at the end of the year. Zinke faces federal investigations into his travel, political activity, and potential conflicts of interest. He's leaving weeks before Democrats take control of the House. The shift in power could intensify probes into his conduct. This just one of several staff changes expected in the new year. The president named Budget Director Mick Mulvaney Mulvaney, the new chief of staff, on Friday.
The clock is once again ticking toward another possible government shutdown effective midnight Friday. Despite resistance from both parties, the White House insisting Congress provides $5 billion to build that border wall or the shutdown happens. President Trump last week said he would be proud to have a shutdown if that's what gets Congress to approve the payment. At this point, the president does not have the votes from the Republican-controlled Congress, the full Congress, to support the funding.
And several Democratic members of Congress are touring areas near the border. They visited a tent city in West Texas where roughly 2,700 migrants are being held. It costs roughly $1 million each day for the facility to operate. Initially, it was supposed to be temporary, but it's now expanding. Now, lawmakers are urging the group running the facility to shut down by refusing to renew a federal contract that expires at the end of the year.
And a local group is planning a trip to Texas to help mothers and children detained at the border. They held a fundraiser yesterday in South Bend, hoping to gather money for food and lodging during the trip. The group is made up of lawyers, activists, and Notre Dame law students. They say they'd like to help these families find a new and safe home.
The one that they're in their country, there could have been violence, rape, death, etc. And so we want to move them from living in those conditions along with their children and bring them to a safe place.
This has nothing to do with immigration. These aren't people that are looking for a better life. They're looking for survival. They're fleeing extreme violence and they're being detained as mothers and children. And I believe that those individuals are entitled to representation.
The legal team will be leaving for Texas on Christmas Day.
Happening today, a call for more help for the homeless in Goshen. Advocates want to draw attention to them during these cold months. Michiana 5 for the Homeless is organizing a rally. This is video from a similar rally held in South Bend at the beginning of the month. Organizers say that Goshen does not have any sort of weather amnesty shelter. The nearest one is in Elkhart. The rally is happening from 4 to 5 o'clock today in front of the Goshen City Hall.
The typical wintertime lowering of the St. Joseph River about to begin for Indiana-Michigan Power as it lowers sections of the river. This morning, I&M will start the annual drawdown upstream of the Elkhart Hydroelectric Generating Station. The water level will be lowered about 2 feet over the next 4 days. The goal is to reduce potential ice buildup later this winter. The water will be returned to its normal level sometime early in the spring.
Ho, ho, ho! Santa. Hey, Merry Christmas, big guy!
Well, Christmas came early for some area kids. They got to go on a shopping spree with Notre Dame football players during the 7th annual Shop with a Player event. Meijer filled to the brim with Santa hats and smiling faces over the weekend. The team took a break from their playoff practices to spend their day with these deserving children. The $100 shopping spree provided by the Kelly Cares Foundation and the Pokagon Band. The Irish were there to help make those tough decisions, and more importantly, they gave some special kids a very memorable day. The time now is 7:07, and the tiniest Notre Dame fans went head-to-head this weekend. Coming up, why toddlers are at the center of a new competition on campus.
And a landmark decision made. Coming up next, details of a new agreement that will impact nearly 200 countries across the globe.
And outside this morning, it's a frosty start to the day, but we're actually going to see some sunshine. We're going to talk about when that changes later this week. That's coming up next.